Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. Through the lens of his own recovery, Benjamin Flaherty, a filmmaker, has put together this character-driven look inside the billion-dollar addiction treatment industry, where clients are bought and sold for their insurance policies and ushered into a system designed to keep them sick. What begins as an investigation of a street-level scam explodes to uncover collusion at the highest levels of government and so many other businesses. We're joined today by one of the subjects of this amazing documentary film, and that would be Laura Helvey. Laura, welcome to Cinemophile.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Laura, I really want to thank you for coming on. As I was telling you before we got started, I've never done this before, brought a subject on from a documentary film, but this film has really captured my attention, and I want to do everything I can to push it forward because I think it's very, very important that people know about this whole system that's designed for failure in so many, many ways. Tell me a little bit about your son, Daniel, aside from what we see in the documentary, just as your son.
Sure. Well, he started out large in life from the day he was born. He was a big old kid, and he's always had a big heart, a big laugh, and there wasn't anything better than a hug from him. He was just such a funny guy, such a funny guy.
It does come across in the film, his honesty as well. To the extent that you feel comfortable doing, what brought him into this system and how he became a subject of the film Shuffle, to whatever degree you feel comfortable talking about it. But I'd like to get a little bit of the backstory on all that as well.
I guess I'll start as, I was probably a very naive parent. We always want to believe that our children are telling us the truth. And Daniel, I knew he had some problems. I thought he was drinking, and he said, he was smoking marijuana. But then family members reached out to me and they were like, Laura, I think it's more than marijuana. So I went to a Nar-Anon meeting, and that's for a support group for family members of those who suffer from substance use. And when I got there, I realized that the other people were talking about Daniel, although they were talking about their children.
Hmm.
So there's always that connection. You can see similarities in just about every parent's story about their child. I then began to just ask him. And Daniel is, as you saw in the film, he was always very honest with me. And I knew he was doing maybe some methamphetamine, things like that, drinking excessively. Then finally, he admitted that he was using heroin. And that is absolutely when my heart dropped because, I'd seen the overdose rates, and I was truly, I truly was afraid that my child was going to die. I never imagined I would be in that spot. I truly didn't. And so from that point forward, we were asking him to go to treatment, and he would go and stay a day or so, and so we collaborated, did some interventions as you see in the film, and it was really hard at the time to find a place that would take him in Kentucky that accepted private insurance. So we were Googling and trying to find a place to take him, and that's when we run across the gentleman who introduced us to what we thought was perfect rehab.
Well, as we see in the film, when you're on camera, one of the things that struck me was not only your honesty in talking about what was happening with your son, Daniel, but also how you were fairly, at least it appeared, you were fairly early to see that something wasn't right in terms of his treatment he was getting, the explanations you were getting, because in the bigger picture of this film is telling is that this is a system that's designed in many ways built into it is a sense that failure is profitable.
Yes.
Failure in your rehabilitation is a profitable enterprise. So it just leaves itself open to so much abuse. It's almost logical based on what we see in the film that this would be the outcome. That's why I so appreciated when I was watching the film. You really looked the camera straight in the eye and said you knew something was wrong.
Yeah, I did. When all of these EOBs kept coming in and just thousands and thousands of dollars for a drug test, or he was having, there was one blood work that they did that they charged my insurance almost $40,000. And when I would go to seek to get those results after he passed away, because I was on a mission at that point to figure out what was this blood work. Nobody would talk to me. They would, refer me to an attorney. But yeah, you get like, an explanation of benefits almost every single day, and it's never the same lab. It's never the same doctor. And it was just so like, wow, how do how do they have three or four or five different labs that they're using? Is like Monday they send them to this one and Tuesday this one. And yeah, it was very actually from the day he got there, I was a little bit suspicious because I couldn't get a hold of anyone there. So
Yeah, and thank you again. I want to thank you for speaking up, agreeing to come on to talk about this because lest people think that our conversation is about an incident, an anomaly, a bug in the system. As we see in Shuffle, it's not a bug, it's a feature of the system as we see it in the film. It's a feature of it. It's, I guess, on one level, it's easy to understand that pernicious people with no sense of humanity would be able to take advantage of the system the way that it's set up or design the system the way it is. And yet it's difficult to understand how human beings can do this to knowing what is, they know what this is. Again, thank you for talking about this. I know it's hard. I can't imagine it's anything but difficult, but I want people to know that human beings are being, lives are being destroyed, families are being undermined and destroyed because it's something that's happening in plain sight.
yeah, I mean, and it happens. I mean, it happens in small towns, it happens in larger towns. It just depends on who is coming in to open up these rehabs. Like I said, when Daniel in 2019, when this was happening, there wasn't a facility that I could call any day of the week and get him into treatment. I mean, as a matter of fact, there was waiting list. So we were trying our best to find somewhere to send him where there would be long-term treatment options because we knew, this didn't happen overnight, so you can't fix it overnight. And honestly, we were pretty dumb as far as it goes about knowing what to do. I'm kind of like Ben. I didn't know about rehab. I had no idea. I just took for granted that the people that were talking to me were truly looking out for the best interest of my child. And they certainly weren't. So now we have lots of options for treatment in Kentucky. And it certainly wasn't the case then. And so
When you say that, you mean accountable people who are providing
oh, we
you.
just didn't have very many options, period.
Okay.
Yeah, and so now there are more options, and I think there are some that are better than others. I actually had a facility the other day that I was working with someone, and we were talking about like what level of care is this person going to go into, and they're like, well, we are not based on the ASMR, level of cares, those tend to be flawed and are for billing purposes. And we're based on, a structured recovery housing program. And so I was like, oh, that makes my heart, be joyous
Yeah.
because a lot of the times it's like, is it a 3.1 level of care? Is it 2.7? Because that's all based on what they can bill. So, yeah, I was very unknowledgeable to that in the beginning.
Have you reached out to organizations or to politicians, maybe a congressman or someone at the state level that you have tried to tell your story to? Are you working with anyone else to do this? I know this is a heavy lift, and I wouldn't expect you to have to say yes to this. I'm just saying, do you know people that are working and understanding this issue at the same level that you do?
I work with a nonprofit that we try to vet any rehab we send anyone to. If we hear bad stories, we're certainly going to check those out and probably not going to send anybody there because we don't want to be placing people in those same things. I'll tell you, I've reached out to the governor's office a couple of times just to even get him to watch the film, unfortunately, with no response,
Is
which
that
makes me sad.
is that Bashir? Is that
Yeah, and
yeah.
he's usually a pretty good guy about being involved in things, but unsuccessful thus far. So it's there are some state representatives that are definitely trying to do some things. They've seen the film and they realize that there's an issue. But you got to make legislative change for some of this stuff to stop.
Yeah, and let me underscore what you said. That is absolutely true, and I've said it numerous times now. You can't watch this film and unsee it. You can't. You can't say you didn't know if you watch this film.
Right.
I'm so glad that you first of all agreed to sit down and talk about this with me. And I'm so glad you were a part of the film because I think you're a very important element in the film as an advocate for your son, as an advocate for understanding what happened. And I am going to, I will continue to do everything I can to get the word out. And I'm working on, as you described, getting electeds in to see this film. I don't know what's going on either. It baffles me. But I think they're afraid of what I just said. You can't unsee it if you watch this film. And
Sure.
then you have to do something about it. Then you're going up against really serious money and you're going up against people who, in my opinion, are on let's put it on the spectrum of color, on the gray side of the law in so
Right.
many different ways that it can be. I can understand why people would be intimidated. Thank God people like you are willing to stand up and say something, but
Yeah.
I get it. But that's no excuse. That's no
Yeah.
excuse.
And I'm an advocate that however someone gets sober is great. But when you have providers that are putting the dollar above someone's recovery,
Yeah,
and I see this every single day in some of these clinics, like if this person's coming in and they're still testing positive for all these other things, but you're going to keep dosing them without suggesting that they do something extra along with your medication, then you're not helping them. And that's my problem with it is that and unfortunately there's the whole, and I'll just flat out call it the evil side of it, because when you're bringing in drugs to sober houses or you're having some person liaison within this hierarchical structure coordinating these go get high and go to this detox and we'll give you money, that is just pure evil. And there's blood on those hands for
exactly.
the people that have lost their lives due to that.
I'm so glad you identified that because you can't point to that and say that that's a good idea. I don't care who you are. You cannot say, well, the benefit of that would be there isn't any. You're
No.
incentivizing people to stay addicted. You're incentivizing a profit margin that is astronomical and evil. I'll say the word as well. I don't know how long did it take for us to turn our attention to the opioid epidemic that wiped out Appalachia and so much of the rural parts of America were just decimated. And that was a decade or more of that going on before somebody, and even now, I mean, I think we're seeing another version of it as we speak right now.
Mhm.
There's something really consequential and terrible, and I don't know how these people can call themselves Americans and do this, to be a part of this. Laura, I want to thank you. I want to thank you so much. I just can only imagine how difficult this would be for you to do this, and I will do everything I can to justify what you're doing.
Well, Mike, I appreciate you. I say it often, I'm an angry mom. What happened to Daniel should have never happened. Was he completely innocent in all of it? No. But he was 21, 22 years old, and you're going to offer him money to use? There's just something about that is just
Well,
unbelievable.
it is
Yeah.
unbelievable. To me, they're kids still.
Yeah.
Their brains are still growing, for God's sake. That's one of the reasons why this is so effective. It destroys the lives of people.
Yeah.
Laura Helvey, thank you. Thank you for this. But I will keep pushing this rock around until somebody tells me I can't do it anymore. But I want to thank you. Thank you so very much for your time
Well,
today.
well, thank you for continuing to get the word out about it, because I think people, once they see it, they can't believe what's going on, and
Yeah.
it's still going on. So
Good,
you're
great
welcome.
point. Great point. No, great point. It's not like, hey, we've turned the corner. I can see the sunshine ahead. No, no, it
No.
hasn't happened. And Laura Helvey, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.